blocks are very exciting because they can travel to any point in the country. Obviously, we'd like to use them locally so we lower our carbon footprint, but it can reach any remote part in the United States.
That's Anna Konopatskaya, architect at COEXIST Build in Berks County, Pennsylvania. This is the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast. My name is Eric Harlock, and today I will talk to Anna and her husband Drew Oberholtzer about the new and exciting hemp products and projects they're working on at COEXIST Build. I first interviewed these two a couple of years ago when they were working on the Hemp House on wheels with hempcrete builder Cameron McIntosh. A lot has happened since then, and today we'll hear all about it. Plus, we'll have some nuggets of hemp news, but first, a couple of words from our sponsors, I&D Hemp and King's Agri-Seeds. Farming is local, and so is King's Agri-Seeds. They've been screening products for local adaptation since 1993. Using the research farm in Christiana, Pennsylvania, King's is working to ensure seed varieties are fit for the East. Hemp is no different. Whether you are growing for grain, fiber, or CBD, King's Agri-Seeds has got you covered. Give them a call at 717-687-6224 or go to kingsagriseeds.com. I&D Hemp is currently seeking summer interns for an exciting opportunity in Montana this year. Are you or someone you know a college student majoring in agricultural economics, mechanical engineering, or agronomy? Well, this is a great opportunity to learn about the fiber and grain side of hemp, and then take that knowledge home with you to help build the hemp industry in your community. I&D Hemp is committed to a diverse and inclusive working environment and encourages anyone with an interest in hemp fiber and grain to apply. Go to indhemp.com to learn more. Okay, welcome back. Just a few nuggets of hemp news before we get into the interview with Anna and Drew from COEXIST. Here's one from Wyoming. This is in the Powell Tribune in Powell, Wyoming. Headline reads, "Hemp enters its second season in Wyoming," and it's written by Kevin Killow. The application process is now open for Wyoming hemp growers to get their permit. Last year, the state issued 28 licenses to grow hemp, which encompassed 1,058 acres of field production and 18,150 square feet of greenhouse production. From the field production, 873 acres were planted and 788 acres were harvested. 28% of the hemp samples that were collected from across the state and tested by the Wyoming Department of Agriculture came in hot. Ag Department spokesman Derek Grant says it's too early to tell if the state will see a growth in applicants. But come on, Wyoming, you can do it. Okay, here's a story from Ohio. This is in the Columbus Dispatch. It's written by Patrick Cooley. It's about the hemp industry having trouble finding banks. The story says that the legal marijuana industry's struggle to find banks willing to offer loans and account services was widely reported when states legalized the drug for recreational and medicinal purposes in recent years. But those troubles also extend to hemp, which also comes from the cannabis plant and found itself in similarly murky legal terrain until the 2018 Farm Bill fully legalized the crop. Even so, hemp farmers and processors say they have to call dozens of banks before they find one willing to loan money or let them open an account. Banks consider the hemp industry fraught with risk. The line between hemp and marijuana is exceedingly thin. Under the 2018 Farm Bill, any cannabis crop exceeding 0.3% THC is legally considered marijuana. Growers and scientists who study hemp largely consider the limit arbitrary and constricting. From a lending perspective, this slim margin of error presents risk that may make some banks hesitant to serve these businesses, particularly banks that lack the resources to ensure a business is complying with that threshold, an American Bankers Association spokesperson said in an emailed statement. I've actually just scheduled an interview with a financial institution from North Carolina that specializes in hemp banking. So that'll be on the show here in a couple of weeks. Have you had trouble finding a loan or, financial services because of your status as a hemp farmer? You probably have. I'd love to hear your story. If you're willing to share it, you can always drop me a line at podcast@lancasterfarming.com. All right, one more thing. We're going to check in with Dr. Ron Kander from the Pennsylvania Hemp Steering Committee to find out some information about the next steering committee meeting. Hi, Dr. Ron Kander. Welcome back to our show. How you been?
Doing great, Eric. Great to see you again and get to talk to you about hemp.
So the Hemp Steering Committee is meeting on April 9th. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. Meeting is April 9th. We meet every 3 months, and it is 1 p.m. That's a Friday at 1 to 3 p.m. And we just sent out a questionnaire to all of the current people on our distribution list, soliciting topics for that meeting. Okay. And if anybody wants to participate in that, all they have to do is get hold of me.
Okay. And we'll have your email address listed on the show page for this episode, but could you maybe just read it off for those who are driving?
Sure. Yeah. And since my name is Ron Kander, it's ron.kander, so my name, at jefferson.edu at Thomas Jefferson University. And if you go to Thomas Jefferson University site and Google my name, you'd also find me that way.
Okay. So people can send you an email and they can get invited to the Zoom call for the Pennsylvania Hemp Steering Committee, which is open to the public.
Absolutely. Yes. Open for everybody. And as I mentioned, we'll have a website pretty soon where people can also get hold of me that way.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Oh, great. Eric, always good to talk to you.
Yeah, appreciate your help.
Sure.
So I encourage all you Pennsylvania hemp growers and processors and everybody to go to this meeting, check in and hear what the latest news is in the state, and also, get to know your hemp community. I'll have a link to Ron Kander's email address on the show page for this episode. All right, well, let's take a trip up to Berks County and check in with the folks at COEXIST Build. Hi, guys.
How's it going?
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Anna and Drew. Anna.
Anna.
Sorry, try it again. Anna Konopatskaya and Drew Oberholtzer from COEXIST Build here in Berks County, Pennsylvania. Welcome back to the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast. How are you doing?
Great. Glad to be here. Second day of spring. Lots of optimism in the air.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us. Always exciting to talk to you.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, because this is sort of a rare occasion for me to actually get out of the studio and be on location here. So I am at the COEXIST Build farm in Blandon. Does your farm have a name?
Yeah, we're calling it Lunaria Farm, which is essentially a combination of our daughter's names, Arya and Luna.
Cool. Well, it's a lovely place.
And Lunaria means what?
Lunaria is actually a plant that people refer to as Chinese money, but we actually don't see. But actually, it has nothing to do with why we decided to name a farm like this, and why it's actually it's an American way of calling that plant that way. It actually means moon-like.
Okay.
And which is what Luna is. One of our daughter's name is a moon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, last time I was here, we were up in the other barn, sitting in an unfinished hemp house on wheels. That was, I think, March of 2019. And a whole lot has happened since then. I mean, obviously, you finished the hemp house on wheels, and, I've seen it all around the place, in New York City and in Harrisburg, and it's an amazing structure. But that was just the beginning for you, right? Can you pick up the story from the hemp house on wheels? What's happened at COEXIST Build since then?
Well, we entered our first year of growing hemp, so we're now in our third year. And we've received several grants to do some research and development on hemp-based building materials. I'd say we received 2 innovation grants with Jefferson University to research hemp bioplastics. So we're currently prototyping several products that we ultimately want to commercialize in 3D printed form. And then once we have a proof of concept, we will be able to scale through injection molding.
Cool.
And what other grants? We've as every startup needs, we received a Farm Vitality grant to write a professional business plan to essentially have someone else write it for us, so we don't have to do it. But that's been really helpful to help us focus.
It's more like to help us. We're still doing it.
Yeah, I mean it's almost finished.
Yeah. And so a lot of other things have happened since 2019. It's been so it's exactly 2 years ago, right, when we had the first interview with you. We've seen a lot of interest in healthier construction from people. We have a website with where people can contact us through, and a lot of people write to us and ask how we can build this, how we can build that. A lot of people are looking to build, to insulate their own houses on wheels, or small houses, or their personal private homes to insulate with hempcrete or some kind of other form of hemp insulation. So we've been pretty busy with a lot of design projects. We're finalizing our own guest house here, so people get a chance to actually experience it for themselves. And in about 2 months, we're hoping to open our doors, and so people can come in, feel it, maybe stay here for a night or two to see what it feels like for themselves before they decide to commit to something like this. We just finished a pool house for our friends. We have a couple of other projects going on. Here in Pennsylvania, in Lancaster County. We have one project in Canada, one in California.
Wow.
So people are contacting us from all over the place. It's very exciting. And we realized that we decided we needed to go in the direction of products as well, so we can deliver it to a broader group of people, not just maybe originally, but all over the United States.
What kind of products are you doing?
So, I think one of the biggest takeaways, from our experience with the Hemp House on wheels, is sort of a great way to, test the market and see what people want and need, was that, cast in place hempcrete is just, it's dirty. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of people. So, we wanted to approach hemp-based building from a precast and perspective. So over a year and a half ago, the Parsons School of Design, the New School, and the Healthy Materials Lab approached us to manufacture some hemp block for them. And we just said yes, and shortly after that we sort of figured out how to do it locally to scale. At the moment we can create 1,000 hemp blocks a day.
Okay, and they're about the size of like a cinder block, right?
Yeah, so they're about the size of a cinder block, but we can make various sizes, and we can also make molds for in any form, really. Although
they're the size of a cinder block, they still don't have structure to them, right?
They're still just insulating hemp blocks, though we are in the early stages of creating a structural hemp block.
Oh, cool. Okay.
But yeah, so that was, we created roughly 1,000 hemp blocks for the Parsons School of Design. Conducted a workshop for them.
So the blocks are very exciting because they can travel to any point in the country. Obviously, we'd like to use them locally so we lower our carbon footprint, but it can reach any remote part in the United States. One problem with the cast in place is that you need someone who knows how to do it, so they can lead the installation, or they can do a workshop to show you how to do it in the first couple of days, and then the homeowner can take over. It's not available in it's not widely available. So we realized that maybe perhaps this is where we can come in and we can create a product that can be shipped. And so we did, and it has a lot of benefits comparing to the installation on site. For example, it's uniform. If you have 10, 15 people, or even 5 people working in a workshop, one part of the wall might be different from another part of the wall, depending on how with how much force they temper
Oh,
down
I see.
hempcrete,
Yeah.
and that will affect your insulation value. With the blocks, they're uniform throughout. So that's one benefit. Another benefit is it is the size of a CMU block, so it's a very familiar size to a mason. They're very light. Anyone can lift them. Anyone can install them.
What do you use for mortar?
For mortar, it's a lime mortar.
Okay.
We source it locally, actually, from Lime Works here in Pennsylvania. Lime is one of the most abundantly available materials in the world, actually, and we have a lot of it in Pennsylvania. So it's a local material, and we're very proud to say that we support local manufacturing. And we produce the blocks here in Reading, and we're the only ones in the United States right now who is making the blocks. So we're basically, we had a few projects already completed with blocks.
Tell me about those. Who's building with the blocks?
So right now, we realize that one of the benefits to the blocks is that it's a pre-dried product, pre-cured product, which means when it's delivered to the site, it's already cured, so you don't need to wait anymore to apply plaster. So it works great if you would like to install some kind of other insulation while working on the inside. So you put it on the inside of your framing of the house, or on the perimeter of the house. You can apply plaster, you can do anything else you need inside of the house, and in the meantime, someone else can come in and spray it on the outside. Spray hempcrete or install some kind of other insulation and continue with the facade further. So that can happen simultaneously. That's a huge benefit to people who are short on time, and that's a very common occurrence in construction world. You're always late with something, or you're always construction takes longer than you think.
And with the spray hempcrete, you have to then wait a long time for it to cure, right? Before you can finish it.
6 to 8 weeks normally.
Okay.
So with the blocks, you wait that time at a factory and then deliver. And then so we found that, let's say we work with Americhanvre and Cameron McIntosh. He uses it as a shuttering on the interior, and then he sprays hempcrete on the outside. So it works great that way. So we've done one project that way.
Okay.
So that's exciting.
So, it's great because you can finish the work on the inside and then just wait for the outside to cure. Okay. And so all the timing just kind of works out.
Correct. And there is another project that's coming up right now. It's several cabins in the Northeast here. For the same reasons, the timing is short, and they would like to go on with inside work while the outside is curing. So these are the kind of projects where it's very beneficial. Let's see, we will be insulating part of this building with the blocks as well. We're using this wall as a workshop kind of area. This will be done soon. Okay. And then we had some other products, prefabricated products that we made, panels. Let's say it's something that we're not going to do again. Probably.
But you're going to stick with the blocks, though.
Well, we will stick with the blocks, yes.
Tell me about the process of making them. Like, what's that like? Like, what do you start with? The raw material of, bales of herd, and then what?
Of making the block?
Yeah.
So without disclosing too much about
these are
the
proprietary secrets?
But, we can sort of, so we have the hemp herd, and then, we mix it very similar to...
Like a binder and some water?
Binder, yeah. I mean, the same sort of way you would do with cast in place, except we have a much larger mixer. And essentially, all that mixture goes into a mold, and it comes out and with precast blocks that have to go into racks and cure, and it's finished. But it's all mechanized, so that's why we can make so many of them.
1,000 a day. That's
At least 1,000 a day.
Awesome.
Yep.
And then how many? Let's like in a typical size home, how many blocks would you need? Maybe. I don't know if that's a fair question. But.
Yeah, it's a good question. The house sizes vary so much. For something like this, probably 2,000-3,000 blocks.
Okay.
This house is about 800 square feet.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Can we talk about like price point or what people could expect to be paying for the blocks?
Yeah, I mean, we can, a 4-inch block is $7 and a 6-inch block is $9. So I guess do the math.
Do the math, right?
To add to this, it does get a little pricey at this point in the history of hemp in the United States, because we have to import some of the materials. But we're hoping that this local supply chain is going to develop in time for us to use it, maybe this year, maybe next year, to use local hemp, locally processed, locally grown hemp. That will bring the prices down.
And also the binder, you know, we're not necessarily paying retail, but pretty close to retail. So we're working on creating our own mix and working on that supply so that we can reduce that at least by 30-40%, which would allow us to bring the price per block down.
Are you using any of the hemp that you grew here on the farm in the past couple of years in these blocks?
We aren't. You know, we haven't processed our bales yet. We're still waiting.
No processors in the state? Yeah.
So we're still waiting for that. We have incorporated some of the fiber that we grew into plaster. But that's about it. We're just really waiting.
And you're just sort of stockpiling those bales?
Stockpiling.
Okay.
And, you know, we are another grant. We have an ag research grant. So we are conducting some research with Penn State to look at the variation of, you know, hemp herd based on retting methodologies. So variation in surface deterioration and hydroscopy and
these are big words that I don't
bunch
understand.
of things that, yeah.
But also we're looking at how much hemp it takes to build a house.
Okay.
Because right now there are speculations about how many acres it takes to build a house. But with our variation, with not necessarily ours, but whatever can grow in Pennsylvania, let's say, in our climate, how it's planted, how it's harvested, how it's threaded, we will find out we'll have exact data on how much you need per a wall, or per certain square footage of a house.
That'd be helpful to have, yeah.
Absolutely. We're definitely missing that. We have that information from Europe, but we don't know exactly what cultivar they're growing and where that data comes from. So, yeah, how they use it in the buildings, exactly.
Okay. These things behind you here, they look like insulation bats. Is that something else you're working on?
Yeah, so we are distributors. We are the East Coast distributors of what we're calling Hemp Blanket Batt Insulation.
Hemp Blanket Batt Insulation?
Yeah.
Okay.
And currently it's manufactured in Quebec. The only manufacturers in, as far as we know, in North America.
Are they using Canadian hemp or are they importing European hemp?
They're using a combination of Canadian. 75% is Canadian and the rest is imported, I believe, from France. And so we're trying to create a market for that so that ultimately we could license their technology and manufacture hemp batt insulation in Pennsylvania.
Cool. So what else? Tell me more.
Do you want to get into the Traveler series?
Sure. So we do have an announcement to make. We are launching a new product on top of all these other products. We're launching a product it will be soft launch on April 1st, but official launch date will be Earth Day, April 22nd.
I think the 22nd.
So a month from today.
A month from today, correct. We're very excited about it. And we feel that this is something that people actually probably could truly use. It's not something where we have to use a lot of convincing for people to use. I think people will find that they would really enjoy this, and that is because of the COVID specifically. During this COVID period, we kind of observed two trends. One is working from home by necessity. Obviously, that's a very obvious thing that a lot of people had to go through, and it's something that might become a standard in some industries. And another one is leaving cities and going into the nature, either for a weekend retreat or just leaving the city completely and moving into the country. And we ourselves here, Drew and I, we experienced this very strong urge to create an office space, workspace, that's physically separate from our home, home life and children, and just to have a peace of mind. So for physical and mental health of
having a
ourselves.
place to go to.
Exactly, to go to work or for our own space. Maybe it's an art studio, maybe it's a music studio, maybe it's a workspace. So we really had a very strong need to have an office where we can focus just on work and not be constantly interrupted by the daily life and the children, little hands. And anyway, so we decided that it's something that a lot of people could benefit from, and we thought that why don't we launch a little space, 140 square feet. It's a kit that people can assemble themselves in 2-3 days without much of experience in the construction world. We don't want to talk about right now about structure just yet. That's something that we want to make an announcement down the line. We don't want to talk about it yet until we actually launch it.
Okay. But it's coming.
But it's coming, and it's a big difference between us and everyone else who is supplying the kits. And another...
Let's talk about those differences between what you're doing and what other people have.
Sure. So there are a couple of other companies that do create kits for people to assemble. But what makes us different is that this will be the healthy alternative to everything else. Just like what we're doing with our regular construction, large-scale construction, this is a retreat for, this could be a retreat for healthy reasons as well. So it's made with healthiest materials that you can find on the market. No formaldehyde, no chemicals, breathable materials. We will try to stay away from petroleum-based products. So needless to say, it will be insulated with a hemp insulation, hemp batt or hemp block. People will be able to choose if they would like one or another, or they can just choose the frame that is designed specifically for hempcrete, and they can just order frame and then install hempcrete on site by themselves.
Oh, okay.
So there will be some options, but overall, basically, it's basically a physical and mental retreat from the realities of the everyday life, I would say. It's just we see different options that it could function. It could be work and studio space that I mentioned. It could be a guest house for friends. It could be, let's say, your children live in New York City and you downgraded your house, but they would like to come here because COVID struck. And they need a space to kind of to stay over for a couple of nights. They can stay in the backyard in this little office or little studio space or cabin. This square footage, 140 square feet, it can be built in the backyard, could be installed in the backyard.
So like 10 by 14, or what's the footprint?
It was 10 by 14. Yes, correct, 10 by 14. Although you still might need a permit to install it, you do not need any kind of variance to install a secondary building on your lot.
Okay.
And in some townships or municipalities, you don't even need a permit because it's more or less kind of relaxed type of thing. And especially if you build it in 2-3 days, it doesn't involve any major construction. It's everything will be pre-drilled and ready to be assembled without any major tools. You might just need a screw gun and a hammer, maybe a saw.
How about power options? Is it off-grid? Is it solar? Like what? How does that work?
We are working with a solar company to design a kit that can be installed next to it.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So yes, if it's in the backyard, people can just run a power line. But if it's somewhere in the country, yes, people can use this kit that can power up a computer, a couple of bulbs, and maybe a stovetop.
That sounds great.
And a fridge, yeah. Can't forget about that.
And say the name of the product again?
Yes, so the series are called the Traveler.
Series, so there's more than one in this. There's a few different options? So
this will be the first one of 3 in this series.
Okay.
And it's called the Traveler because it will travel to you, or you will travel to it, or you can travel into your world within it.
I like that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the podcast, because that's how I first came in contact with what you're doing, was through Drew's podcast, The Hemp Entrepreneur. How was that going?
Well, we sort of took, both Cameron and I have been really, really busy, and it's been difficult to coordinate schedules. And around kids and other work and that sort of thing. So, we haven't had as many interviews in 2020, but we're ramping that up.
Okay.
And actually have 3 scheduled in the next 2 weeks. But it's probably going to be less of a weekly thing and more of a maybe bi-monthly.
Okay.
Just can't commit to more than that.
I know it takes a lot of work to make a podcast. So let's get back to talking about the Hemp House on wheels. So that was a really sort of neat project. You designed it and you helped build it, and it took you all over the country, right? Like where did you take this Hemp House on wheels?
We started in New York City, which was pretty amazing. Taking this small structure to the Javits Center around Hudson Yards with all this huge new construction, skyscrapers, and this tiny little hemp house.
And didn't you just finish it 2 days before you had to take it there? Was there
Yeah,
some kind of
once we arrived, once the union guys let us in, we were still painting.
Oh.
So we were certainly still working on it, but people loved it. It was the biggest hit at the.
Sorry about that. But...
and then we took it, to Riley Cote's Hemp Hills Music Festival in Camden, and we went to the Pennsylvania Farm Show and the Farm Progress Show out in Decatur, Illinois. That was probably our longest haul. I can't remember how many hours, but it was.
You didn't go to Iowa one year, did you?
No,
okay.
We didn't go to Iowa, but
I guess I
think
Illinois.
They rotate years. So it's hasn't been out to California yet, but it's been out to the Midwest. We like to say that more people have passed through the Hemp House on wheels than any hemp-based building in the world. We've literally had tens of thousands of people walk through it, experience it, and so it was great feedback. From farmers, from cannabis activists.
Yeah, I imagine hemp people love it, but how about people outside the hemp
right?
sphere?
So I forgot to mention we then also took it to Design Philadelphia, which
what is that?
Design Philadelphia is the oldest architectural design festival in the country, based in Philadelphia. I believe it's a 2-week festival celebrating architecture throughout the city. So we were fortunate to be at the Cherry Street Pier, right in the front, featured for 2 weeks, and to have people from all walks of life.
So if you're hearing baby noises right now, that's because there's a baby in here.
So we had people from all walks of life pass through, and one of the biggest takeaways from that was that we really need to get this out to architects, developers, people who just don't know about it. We know that all the hemp people love it, but in order for this to go mainstream, we obviously have to
reach a wider audience.
So yes, the House on Wheels was in Design Philadelphia. It's very exciting. I think it's the longest running outdoor design festival in the country. We were in the front, in the front position there on the Cherry Pier. It was very exciting. A lot of people walked through it. People loved it. It was very nice to see people's excitement, and a lot of people contacted us later. And then we also held, we did another presentation so Design Philadelphia is organized by AIA, Philadelphia chapter. It's a American Institute of Architects.
Okay.
And so we stayed in touch with them, and we we wanted to see if we could talk directly to the architectural community. And they have this event called Design and Architecture Forum, where you present to the architects. So we did a presentation with them as well. We called it Out of the Plastic Box, which is basically something we've been talking about for a couple of years now, about how conventional construction basically envelopes your building with a plastic material. So you're literally sitting inside of a plastic box. It's a vapor barrier, Tyvek, very commonly seen around here. Plastic siding. Drywall on the inside is painted with a paint that doesn't breathe.
I would like to hear about like the architecture community's reaction to the Hemp House on wheels, and just because you're a trained architect, like, and so this must be exciting to see, like your peers and everybody just seeing something brand new.
Yes, I have to say that a lot of architects are a little skeptical.
Yeah.
Because number one, it's a new product here in the United States. Number two, it's for small size construction. So let's say you cannot use it in the skyscraper, let's say in New York. So let's say it's not for New York necessarily, because in New York you also have to watch the thickness of the wall, and this product gives you nice, thick, solid walls. So it's more for smaller size residential company projects. Not every architect works on something like this, and also the price is the big point at which when an architect hears that the client has to commit to a certain price, they say, yes, it's never going to happen. I've been there myself. I was very skeptical when we started. Actually, we started looking at hemp in California, in Los Angeles. And I was working for a big architecture company, and we started our own practice. And I knew firsthand, I knew exactly how the clients react when you tell them, yes, this costs a little bit of money, but you will save the environment. That does not sell. It does not sell. It does not work. You can say it's very healthy. It's very healthy for you. It's good for you. You'll see a return on your investment later when you will not be going to a doctor. That also doesn't really work because it's intangible. They can't hold it in their hands. People appreciate the beauty. They appreciate what they can see, what they can touch. When you talk about these kind of things that in the abstract form, is difficult to convince. But this is exactly why we think that there is this gap between the final end user and someone like us who is trying to promote a healthier way of living. And one of the ways we're trying to break that is by building this guest house that people can rent and see for themselves how it feels at that moment when they stay here. Of course, it will not help them understand right away, feel the health benefits, but we hope that we hope that will be the first step in that transition. But yeah, so coming back to the architects, yes, I have a lot of friends, architects, who are still skeptical. So we're continuing to work on this, and that's why I wanted to speak in front of the AAA community. And we did, and a lot of people contacted us after that event. They wanted to know more about it, and we continue to reach out and send them samples of hempcrete, also hemp batt insulation. People are more interested in hemp batt right now because North American construction system is kind of developed a certain way, and so this batt can very easily replace the conventional insulation, which is the pink insulation. It can go easily in between 16-inch stud on center or 24-inch stud on center. So it's a lot easier to introduce to the client.
How does the price compare between the pink insulation and the hemp batts?
Hemp batt is a little bit more expensive, maybe by 50%. It's more expensive, okay. But overall, when you look at the budget for new house construction, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. It's a great product. You don't need to wear a Tyvek suit. You can breathe freely around it. It doesn't itch after all. Yep. It's something that you can actually feel and touch and see the difference. So it's a great product. We highly recommend to anyone. If it gets wet, you don't need to replace it. It can just dry out and continue functioning, unlike the pink insulation. A lot of people from the Northeast actually contact us and they say, our house feels very damp and cold. We have a stone building. How can we fix that problem? And it turns out the house was insulated maybe 30 years ago with a 3.5-inch pink insulation. But if your stone walls get wet, all that moisture transfers to the batt insulation. It gets kind of somewhat wet, somewhat moist. It literally stops working, and that's why you have all that kind of like this cold, kind of like wet feeling inside of the house. By the way, hempcrete is excellent insulator in that case because it absorbs the moisture and then it emits back into the space. So in the winter, for example, when your walls are really kind of like moist and cold, it will and dry on the inside because you use some kind of heater and it heats the air and it gets really dry, and some people need to use a humidifier. This can actually replace the humidifier. So once again, it replaces the equipment that produces some kind of processed air that we breathe. So I just want to summarize in terms of the processed things that we live in and consume. There's a lot of processed food out there. People eat it all the time. I've myself not perfect, going out for lunch or dinner,
It's hard to avoid processed food.
It is hard to avoid. Sometimes your soul just desires a snack. That is also processed. Everything that doesn't come to you as in the original form is processed. So we eat processed food. We drink processed drinks. We wear synthetics. We live in a house where that off gases, and to eliminate that off gassing, we introduce processed air. So that's the modern life, and that's something that we try to get away from. It's very difficult, even for us. Very hard. We're trying to live what we preach, but it's hard to do. But we're trying, and so we recently, I don't think Drew mentioned, but this year we can certify our farm organic. So we try to pay attention to the food we eat. Obviously, we committed to organic food. 15 years ago, we've been eating just pretty much exclusively organic. We want our children to know what it takes to grow organic food. We want them to know the difference and how it tastes, how much labor it takes, what it looks like. And we want to live in a healthy space. So we don't want to compromise. We approach this from a holistic point of view. We don't want to choose and pick and choose. We want to basically everything. And that's what we try to advocate and bring to people. And we're going to have a lot of events this summer, hopefully at the farm, where we'll be inviting speakers. It's not just us talking. We'll be inviting speakers who will be experts in their own fields. And we'll be holding events, cooking events, and we'll be talking a lot about what it takes to be healthy, stay healthy, and how people living a regular life that we're all used to, how they can make small changes to create a big difference in their life.
Good.
One other thing that I wanted to add was this new certification that's taking the prime stage right now in the built environment. We've all heard about LEED. And we've all heard about Passive House. There are pros and cons to all of these certifications, but this one I particularly feel very excited about it. It's called WELL, WELL, as in feeling well. It focuses specifically on the materials of the building and how the kind of effect that the building has on the inhabitants of the space. Directly, basically speaking specifically about the health benefits or negative effects that the building can have on someone. So if LEED talks about the kind of building that it is, the kind of energy it uses, how far it is from the bus station, how walkable your neighborhood is. It kind of looks at all kinds of different aspects of the design. This specifically focuses on the health of the space. And so a lot of celebrities were brought on board of this certification. They advocate this kind of space. We've seen a lot of advertisements. We're actually kind of surprised. Robert De Niro speaks about it. Lady Gaga, Venus Williams, tennis star. I'm sorry, our baby is here. Anyway, so we are getting certification in this. We'll be certified WELL AP accredited professionals in the next couple of months. We're very excited about it because we will be able to talk about the wellness of a space, not just from some abstract understanding of how things that still need to be researched, let's say, but actually things that have been proven, and there are standards, and things have to be complied with those standards to achieve a certain level of health in the building. So we're very excited about that, and we'll be able to consult and see and help people change their spaces that they live in now. It doesn't have to be applied to a new construction.
Oh, good.
It could be
Okay.
applied to an existing space. Yeah.
Cool.
So
That sounds very exciting.
very exciting, and that's something we'll be talking about at the farm as well, and we'll be reaching out to have talks at the universities and
Okay.
organizations.
Where can people go to find out about your events?
It will be on our website, COEXIST.Build.
COEXIST.build.
Yes,
Okay.
we're in the process of building a new website. We'll have a lot more information there that talks about what we've been up to, our current projects, and different events that we'll be holding. But yes, this year, stay tuned. Please check out our website. A lot of different events with a lot of experts in their fields.
Cool. I would like to say Luna is our first baby on the podcast, so welcome, Luna.
She's very excited. She will be speaking next time. she'll hold the microphone next
Good.
time.
Well, this has been a great chance to catch up with all of you. I was going to say both of you, but there's three of you here.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Luna. Anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it up?
Just that, we hope that this summer is different than last summer. And
Amen to that, yeah.
We all can
Get together.
and meet in person soon.
Good. I like that. Well, thank you very much for having me out here today. It's great to see you both.
You too. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming.
you so much.
All right. That's it. We did it. That's the show. Thank you very much for listening. I will have links to COEXIST Build's website on the show page for this episode, plus the email address for Ron Kander, and links to those news nuggets in the beginning of the show. And links to our sponsors, I&D Hemp and King's Agri-Seeds. I recommend you check those folks out. All right, well, that does it for me. My name is Eric Herlock. I am the digital editor at Lancaster Farming Newspaper, the greatest agricultural newspaper in the world. Just something on the horizon that I'm looking forward to is this mighty road trip. We're going to connect the dots of the fiber and grain sectors in the United States. We're going to leave at the end of June, hopefully coming to a hemp farm near you. Get in touch if you want to help support, or if you'd like us to stop by your farm. You can email me at podcast@lancasterfarming.com. All right, thanks everybody. Until next time, I'll see you in the newspaper.
Industrial hemp.
Episode 125 of the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast is copyright 2021 by Lancaster Farming Newspaper, which is part of the Steinman Communications family. Today's show is written and recorded, edited, and produced by yours truly, Eric Herlock. Any music you hear throughout the show is courtesy of Tin Bird Shadow.